everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Drew, and welcome back to the Drew the Theme Park Dude, and welcome back to this all-new video where I'll be ranking the 10 haunted houses featured on Halloween Horror Nights 31, located at Universal Studios, Florida. So as you guys are watching this, it's almost Thanksgiving, so this video definitely, I did take time to release, as I did take a little break from YouTube, but I will be back. There will be videos, as well as 3 cruise vlogs coming soon from my cruise that I had at the end of early September. So yes, they're finally going to get released. I'm going to try to get those out, sometime in the next couple weeks. I've just really been on top of things, trying to cover Horror Nights, trying to cover SeaWorld's new coaster pipeline, and just a bunch of stuff, just really trying to get through, and just also having school and other real life stuff, that I have to deal with as well. So, but going back to this year was a great year at the event, with 10 haunted houses, with 4 IP houses and 6 original houses, and I loved every single house this year. There really was not a bad house. I mean, there's houses that are definitely weaker than others, and some that I disliked, but there is, disliked to an extent, because like I said, I did like every house this year. There are just some that I just did not think were, because even the worst house here is still like one of the best haunted houses if you took it to another event around the world. So, it's just very, very strong houses at this year's event. Really did enjoy this year, featuring, The Weekend, Halloween, Universal Monsters Legends Collide, Dead Man's Pier, El Chupacabra, Spirits of the Coven, Hellblock Horror, just all of those. There's even more that I didn't even name, but they're just a ton of houses, and they were a great time, and I did every house at least 5 times, with doing some such as Dead Man's Pier upwards of 12 and 13 times. So I really did get a good experience through all the houses, and I had several run-throughs to really get a good grip on this house. So without further ado, let's begin ranking the top 10 houses at Halloween Horror Nights 31. So in last place, Spirits of the Coven. This house, it was, like I said earlier, one of the houses that I did not like to an extent. I mean, it was still the set design, there was still amazing actors, and it still was a fun house to go through for the most part. There were times in this haunted house that I just found myself wondering, when is this thing going to end? Because it's a very long haunted house located in one of the sound stages on the Universal backlot, and it just is, I guess that's what they call it in Orlando, if they call it that, but yeah, it was just one of the sound stages located backstage, and sound houses are really, really good normally. It just, this one felt like it could have fit in a 10. I mean, it didn't really have a wow factor. The facade was neat. There was a few neat set pieces, like the finale having like these ruins and all of that stuff. But I mean, for most of the part, it's very repetitive. A lot of the scenes I felt like were basically just the same exact thing, except with a different body in a different spot and a witch popping about in the second window instead of the first. I mean, it also wasn't too aggressive in this house. I mean, the actors did do a great job, but I do think the scaring, like the spots, there were spots that I thought of that an actor would pop out, but they didn't. And I don't know, because throughout my run-throughs, they did shift in. I mean, it got a lot better as the season came on, because at first, it was a house I hated. I did not like it in slight bit. But at the end of it, I actually grew to like it slightly, and it just really grew on to me, and but it's still, I've enjoyed the other 9 way more, so a house did have to come in last, and Spirits of the Coven, unfortunately, is in last place. The house that takes 9th place is Hellblock Horror. This haunted house was also located in a soundstage house, located right at the entrance to the park. It was the first house you saw, and you would go straight into it. This house, I mostly did first on most of my event night, just because I started from the front and normally worked my way back on all 10 nights that I went there. Most of the time, this was my first stop, and I got the most run-throughs out of this house out of any other house. I got 14 run-throughs, I believe, out of Hellblock Horror this season, and it was a fun time. This house is just fun. It's not a amazing house, not a quote-unquote good house, but it is a fun one. I mean, there is great scares in here, aggressive actors, fun sets. I mean, it isn't but the only reason why I can't go above is because I just don't classify it as a good house on terms of quality. And I mean, this was definitely a last-minute house, because it was supposed to be Evil Dead. Universal did not confirm this, but it was going to be Evil Dead Rises based on the new movie, I guess, but that comes out later this year. But since the movie got delayed, they just scrapped the idea and then turned this one into Hellblock Horror. And over at Universal Hollywood, they turned that into Universal Horror Hotel. So I guess, there's a little originality twist into it. But I mean, this house, I guess, was not designed to be at the event, and I guess that's why some of the sets just kind of felt a little you know, not up to quality that HHN normally has. I did enjoy this more than Spirits of the Coven because at least I had a good time in this haunted house. There was some good scares in here that actually got me. But the other thing that puts it, though, in ninth place is black wall usage. There is some black wall usage in this haunted house, which is pretty rare over here in Orlando. In Hollywood, yes, is pretty common because that's, you know, they have a lower budget, and that's just normally what they do over there. But over here, they don't tend to have that. Like, we normally struggle more on costumes or... mainly costumes is what we normally struggle on. And sometimes even there's very little instance in set design, but... I'll get back to that later when I talk about the other houses that were also at this and in Hollywood. Because I did not visit University of Hollywood this year, so I can't really judge them in a way. I just saw videos, but I did visit Orlando 10 times, so I mean, you know, I can pretty much give a good opinion on it. Hellblock Horror, though, fun house. I mean, you know, if you did it, great. If you didn't miss out on much. I mean, but a fun house. So yeah, now we're going to number 8. In 8th place, we have Fiesta de Chupacabras. And before I go into this, I know this is a big shocker for some people, as this is people's number 1 house, or even like top 3 on average. And I know that is a big shocker for this house to be so low on this list. And also, I do know this image quality is pretty bad compared to the other ones. I tried editing it, I tried getting different images, I tried altering it. It just did not work. I don't know what to do with that part, so I apologize on that and for quality reasons. But going back to this, yes, Fiesta de Chupacabras is my 8th favorite haunted house at this year's event. I mean, it is... There's a big jump from Hellblock Horror to this. There's a pretty big gap. I mean, it's not a small, tight, close at all. Like, there is a solid 5 to 6 space gap in between. So, I mean, this is still a very good house. Amazing sets, amazing costuming. It just... What didn't really work for me was just, I guess, how better the other 7 houses were. I mean, I enjoyed the 7 other houses more than this one. And I really did above this house. Every house I really, really liked. I mean, there is not a bad house above this house, or even probably even under it. I mean, there just is not a house that I would not classify as good above this one. I mean, I would say this one's pretty good as well. I mean, it is a fun house. It just, a few things, small, things that I just wasn't a huge fan of were the layout, because it was kind of weird how you went outside, inside kind of stuff. I mean, it just felt a little, I don't know. There was a scene where you'd go outside, and it was like this big village, but you'd only be there for like 5 seconds because there'd be a huge gap in front of you, and the person would make you run, so like you wouldn't really get to like see the other sides. And there should have been actors there, and there is normally, but you never get to see the actor because you're running through that section. I mean, there's a few good scares in here that got me. Normally, every time I went through this house, which I went through around 6 or 7 times, if I remember correctly, I did get jumped, they did make me jump, because they did move around the scares in here. It's just some of the scenes are pretty dark, and you can't really see. Some scenes didn't really make sense to me, like there's like a hotel room, which I guess is like them attacking the tourists, but I mean, I don't know. And then the Chupacabra. I mean, I give credit, where credit's due. I will not... I mean, the puppeteers did great. I just don't know what they were thinking with the design of it. It just did not look... I mean, it looked more like a werewolf than an actual chupacabra. And I mean, like at least from like the myth legends, if you look up an image, it looked nothing like the one in the house. Or the one even on the t-shirt that I feel like they swapped out designs at the last minute, which I don't know why. But I guess they did. But I mean, still a very fun house. Great, I loved the whole story to it. I really liked the theme to it. I liked the cultural aspect to it. It just not everything landed for me on the other side, so that's why it's in 8th place. Now, let's move on to number 7. 7th place goes to Bugs Eaten Alive. This house was located in another Sprung tent, which the other one, Sprung Tent House, being Descendants of Destruction. This house had a lot of hype. It was designed, or it was advertised to be the scariest house HHN has ever done. People could not finish it. People were going to be running out at full speed out of this house. But, I mean, I did it, and it was a very fun house, and not too scary, but I liked the set design. The costumes were kind of goofy, but they were funny looking, and but that, was kind of the theme of the house, I guess, to be like this 50s kind of old style bug invasion convention type of style house, I guess. But that's not really what people were expecting, and that wasn't really what I was expecting, so it was kind of a letdown when I exited. I was like, oh, that was kind of it. I was expecting more from this house. But it was still a great house, great actors. Still, one of my favorites, still, because I really did enjoy all these houses. But yeah, Bugs, a little underwhelming, and that's why it's in 7th place. 6th place goes to The Horrors of Blumhouse, featuring the Black Phone, and Freaky, which is Chapter 3 version of this house. The third year they've done horrors at Blumhouse, and sorry for the picture again being distorted and not looking quality. I tried as well with this one, it just didn't come out as well as I liked, but I still really did like this house. Blumhouse, 6th place, solid. At the beginning of the year it was number 9, so that's how much it improved over the season as I got more walkthroughs. Freaky section, actors did great. Everything else I did not enjoy with the house. The set design felt weak. The story was kind of confusing if you didn't really already know it. It just fell off. But then you exit, and then you go to the Black Phone section. This section I feel like was done perfectly if you were going to do a Black Phone house. Like, this was full out. You had the van, you went in the basement, you went through the house, you went in the kitchen, you went outside, you went back inside. You basically went through the entire movie, but they were able to make it, because I was very worried with this house, and I don't know if you guys see my earlier HHN videos before the event. I was very confused on how they would do it, because it mainly takes place in one room, but they really took advantage of that. And you went in that basement, I think, 3 different times, but they had, like, hallways, they had other things, and it also was very scary. This was probably one of the scariest, well, actually, later in the list I have my number 1 scariest house, but this is probably the 2nd scariest house I experienced at the event, just the Black Phone section. Pitch black, and you have the grabber people popping out, just very, very scary. But it was also fun, and I had a good time. Only reason it isn't higher is because of Freaky being a part of the house, so I cannot put it any higher on this list. In 5th place, Halloween, the original 1970s movie based on, this house is a recreation of the original film. You walk through start to finish, and now we are entering the top 5. So from here on out, all 5 of these really were, I was moving them around until right before I was recording. Like, all 5 of these like this and the next 4 after this really are close, especially the top 2. Those went back and forth several times throughout the event. But yes, these Halloween, very fun house. Really enjoyed it. Set design was great. The story was fun. I mean, it's just the movie. If you're a fan of the movie, you'll enjoy that. You would have enjoyed this house. Really turning the corner and seeing the actually full-scale Myers house was really neat. Going through my scenes of the movie, because this is my first time ever experiencing Michael Myers at the event, so it was really neat, having that part at the event. Definitely do give this my thumbs up. This was a fun house. Just cannot put any higher as I enjoyed the other 4 more than this one. And that's kind of going to be my reason for most of these, because I just really did like all of these houses. And there's not a ton of negatives. I mean, a few negatives of Halloween could be the repetitiveness. There's a lot of the same triggers, same audio, same scare. Lots of that is in there. The end scene with the mirror maze, that was really cool. But it kind of just, like, there was no, really good transition into it. It was just, hey, we're going to be in the Myers house. Oh, wait, no, we're going to this part. So it was just kind of, that's, little nitpicky stuff, but really it's just I enjoyed the other 4 a bit more. But this was a very fun house, and yeah, solid 5th place goes to Halloween. 4th place goes to Descendants of Destruction, the other Sprongtown house located opposite of Bugs Eaten Alive, back behind Men in Black. Well, actually between Men in Black and Springfield, but you have to go to the right of Men in Black to enter. Very, very fun house. I love Descendants of Destruction. My favorite, one of my favorite houses I really did of all time, because I really did enjoy this one so much. And being in 4th place, really, this house was in number 2 at one point. It just went down because I enjoyed the other 2 above this a bit more, but as well as my number 1. But Descendants of Destruction, a really fun house. Amazing set design just for a soundstage house. You have a full subway in there, the facade, scenes, costuming, and you slowly go down as you descend into destruction. So basically you start up at the top where it's, more kind of like zombie apocalypse, but then you slowly go down and deeper into where the humans have devolved, I guess, and become more savage and have cannibals and stuff like that. And you go down towards the bottom and they've become something different, like they're new, like monster-looking people. So as you slowly go down, you experience more, and but it gets darker as well. So it starts off kind of like dim lighting, and then it gets a little darker, and then you see bioluminescent mushrooms that light your way. Really neat. They flicker, and then at the end you have something that very much reminded me of POVs of Dead Exposure Patient Zero. I never experienced that house, but I did see POVs of it. Very similar is what, at least from the POV, the sense of destruction looked very similar to that, where towards the end where it's just flashing and you can only see them when they take advantage of when it's not like the light is off to then get in your face, so when the light turns on, they're right there to startle you. Great costumes as well. Love this house. Only issue is it's kind of short, and also there's a few parts where it can be a little confusing. I did enjoy it because I did my research, but if you didn't, it's going to be a little hard to understand. Even though the name is Descendants of Destruction, Descent into Destruction might have been the better name. Now we're going to our top 3, and these top 3, incredible houses. These all made my top 10 list of all time. Third place going to be The Weekend After Hours Nightmare. I know this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to try to speed it up. Another really enjoyable house, loved it, music was great. Only reason it's not higher is because of the sets, but still was a fun house. Other than that, Able and Universal Creative did a great job working together on this one. Definitely one of my favorites. Just wish it also had like a facade like Hollywood did, but that's alright. Great house, loved it. And now we're to the final 2, where these 2 really went back and forth throughout the entire event. Number 2 is Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake, probably the most beautiful Halloween Horror Nights house I've ever gone through, and I've been going since 2019. Absolutely loved it. Set design was incredible. Scares were the only lackluster thing that prevented this from going to number 1, but for most of the season, just because of the sets, it was my number 1. Absolutely loved it. Incredible story, amazing set design, incredible job from all the actors, and all of the houses, obviously. But this one just had, I knew a few scare actors that were in it. It was just a fun, very good house. But now it's time for our number 1 house reveal. The number 1 haunted house of Halloween Horror Nights 31, in my opinion, is Universal Monsters Legends Collide. The other parade house located where Beetlejuice and Graveyard Games were in years past. Absolutely a phenomenal house, and my number 2 house of all time behind Wicked Growth. So this is my number 2 house of all time, my number 1 for this year. Absolutely loved it. It was incredible from start to finish. Sets, scares, the actors, the effects, just everything in here was just amazing and so well done. It just was perfect. The first run through I had, it was mainly a mummy house, but as I went throughout the season, especially my last run through on the second to last weekend of the event, I got every single scare because I went through the house entirely alone with no one in front or behind me, because I did it during Stand Scream, and it was after the initial rush of people, so there was a huge gap in front and behind me, so I was able to basically be in here alone, and it was absolutely terrifying, but it was so much fun. Got every scare, the Dracula gliding scare, the triple scare between all 3 of them. Just so much interaction, because this house has a lot of interactive scares in the way how one will come at you and then one will be there 5 seconds later. Just a lot of interaction between the actors and you, and they get very close in this house. Mummy's face, Dracula's cape, Wolfman's claws, all were within inches of my face throughout this experience, and a very intense house. Probably the most intense Halloween Horror Nights house I've ever experienced. Set design, incredible, loved it. Not as strong as Dead Man's Pier, but this is just the full package, this house. So that's why it is number 1. It just has everything that I loved about this house, and I also happened to win House of the Year at Halloween Horror Nights, so that was amazing. But before I end this video, I just want to say amazing job to all the scare actors, Universal Creative, the TMs that are working inside, the house's security, just everybody that brings this event to life every year. Just a massive thank you to all of y'all for creating this amazing event and an incredible job this year. I know this video is super late in the season, but, well, after Horror Nights, but I know Christmas time is, right upon us, so I just got back from Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party only a couple days ago by the time you guys are seeing this video, so there'll be videos off that coming right after this video, such as the parade, the fireworks show, my review of the event, and so much more. And also stuff from Universal's Christmas and SeaWorld's Christmas, and even maybe ice at Gaylord Palms. So a lot of stuff to look forward to for Christmas time. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day, everyone. See ya. Bye.